counterpoint time after what Baltimore did with Davante Adams. If you see that again, what do you got to do?
I mean, starting point is talk about an unbelievable amount of respect for a great player. I have not been a part of. I've seen it a couple times in the past, but nothing like what they were doing. I mean, when they stacked two guys on top of him, they had a safety over him. I mean, what an amazing compliment to him. And I think it allowed us to get some more people involved. I mean, when you're going to dedicate so many people to one, it's going to give people a lot of opportunities. You saw MVS had a great catch and run on the backside of a progression on that one. And it's just one of those things you got to kind of find those sweet spots. It's almost like a pressure when you take one guy and put him over Davante. There's going to be other zones voided, or there's going to be a chance for a one-on-one with no help to another guy. So it's we just got to take advantage of that with some other guys.
Jason Wilde.
Hey, Nathaniel, can you hear me okay?
I can, yes.
All right, great. Can you tell us what those examples were that you've seen that were even close to what you saw from the Ravens? And then Davante didn't really appreciate the compliment. He would like to have more catches and more yards. So how do you go about counterbalancing that and making sure that you get the best wide receiver in football more involved?
Yeah, you know, I think from the starting point, the first question, I remember seeing it early in my career. I remember it was the New York Jets would do that a couple times. They would put two people over certain receivers. I don't remember the exact receiver, but it was a while ago, so I haven't seen it much since. But about Davante, you know, I think that we have to keep doing the same plan we've been doing from the standpoint of moving him around. We want him to play all different spots on the field. We don't want to just line him up in one spot so they know where he is. Moving him around is something that can always cause some issues. If you have two guys chasing him all over the place, it'll allow him to kind of shed one of them, hopefully. But just kind of the things that we've been doing up to this point, I think we've done a really good job moving him around, putting him at that 1, 2, and 3 spot. Heck, we've lined him up in the backfield sometimes. So we just want to keep him moving so nobody knows where he's going to be.
Bill Huber.
Hey, I'm going to assume that Aaron and Davante are going to be voted to the Pro Bowl tonight. Just a wild guess on my end. Obviously, we know how good they. I mean, we all know how good they are as players. But can you put in the words what they mean, like Monday through Saturday, to you guys?
I mean, it starts right away with their preparation. It starts right away with just kind of the men that they are. I think, there's everybody sees what they do on the field. And what they do on the field is absolutely incredible. Don't get me wrong. I mean, it's unbelievable. But that starts with how they work off the field and how they carry themselves and just the type of people that they are. I mean, such great men that are so instrumental in the locker room and kind of how they hold themselves, how they act. I mean, they make everybody rise to their level. It's awesome. I mean, when Aaron's out there in the huddle, I mean, everybody's, is so locked in. They know they can't mess up because he's going to let you know. And it's the same point with Davante. Davante gets out there and he runs his routes and he kind of sets the standard of how he controls his body, where he's going to go, how he understands the game, how he can fit in coverages. I mean, it's unbelievable. And I think that's what makes those guys so special is not just what they do on the field, but how they get there from their knowledge, from the people that they are, the leaders that they are. I mean, it's a pleasure just to be around those guys all the time.
Aaron Nagler.
Coach, earlier this week I asked Matt about the run game this year and going back all the way to the San Francisco game where you guys started sprinkling in a lot more kind of power stuff. It really seems like you haven't gone back to a lot of the traditional stretch zone action that was really prevalent through your first couple of years. Is that partly due to the fact that you are kind of so deep into your bench, so to speak, or along the offensive line, and maybe it's a little bit tougher to get the timing down with so many young guys and backups on your line?
I think it's a combination of a lot of things, and that's a great question because that's our starting point. Our starting point is being able to get the ball outside and being able to stretch the line of scrimmage and make people cover the entire field from sideline to sideline. That's what we're always trying to accomplish. But I think that a lot of teams know that that's what we want to do. So there's ways to kind of box it back in. And, like anything, when you want to take something else away, you want to attack, that different sweet spot that they've now voided. So I think that that's kind of opened up a little bit more of those gap schemes, some of those inside zones, and we still always want to work all of them in. But I think we've done a really good job trying to mix the concepts up, not just being one-sided, so that you have to defend everything, and it's not just that outside zone, but it's going to be some of those gap schemes, some of those inside zones, some of those misdirection flows. I just think it's so important to mix things up, and at the same time work with your personnel. If you have guys that are better pullers or trappers, or guys that are better at double teams downhill, as a coach, our job is to put them all in the best position possible, and that's what we're always going to try to do.
Jason Moldy.
Nathaniel, Bobby was so good for you guys last year. Obviously, you miss him. But how important is it? You've gotten some pretty good production from the other guys the last couple of weeks. Just how important is it in this offense to have your tight ends involved and productive, both in the passing game and then all the other dirty work stuff that they do?
They never get enough credit for what they do, especially in the run game. I mean, really, in the end, kind of how you want to run the football is really determined by the tight ends. From a strong side run, for what Mercedes Lewis does on that front side, and then the ability to put, those other tight ends right next to him, and the combo blocks and things that they do, it allows you to run to the strength. So I think that it's absolutely critical for that. And then the things that they've done in the pass game, not just necessarily in the routes, but even just helping with protection, whether they've been 100% protecting or assisting or chipping or anything like that. I mean, they've done a really good job, and it's given Aaron time to make plays down the field. And then you add in that component of the pass game. I mean, Mercedes Lewis has been doing an amazing job, not only just catching the ball, but the runs after the catch. So all those guys have done a great job contributing and understanding their role, and within the play, what we're asking them to do. They keep their head down and they keep working, and it's been great to see all those guys contribute.
Bill Huber.
We questioned you for weeks on end about the gold zone, the lack of success down there, but the last 4 weeks, you're up around 70%. So what have you seen down there? Yeah. What's gone better the last 4 weeks?
Every single thing you look at, because we're always our hardest critics. We're always trying to figure out ways to be better. And when something's not working perfect, you always overlook it, or maybe even overdo it, trying to compensate for something. And I think, for us, we've tried to mix those runs in. I think that's the number one thing, because it's about running the football when you're down there, first and foremost, and then focusing on the play action stuff. I mean, anytime you can get Aaron either out of the pocket or in a really solid pocket with a lot of protection, good things are usually going to happen, especially with the wide receivers that we have and the tight ends that we have. So I think it's just kind of going back to what we were doing in the past, not trying to get too crazy, but still kind of mixing it up with everything. I think the guys have done an awesome job at executing. I mean, you see the touchdown that Tay had this past week. I mean, we didn't know they were going to double him in that situation, and he still was able to win. I mean, it was awesome. And Aaron was able to deliver the ball to him. And then every now and then you sneak a run in there, and A.J. or Aaron Jones score a touchdown. So I think as much as we can continue to spread that ball around, continue the run, keep mixing it up, it's just going to be so critical down there, and the guys have done a great job executing.
Jason Moldy.
Nathaniel, I asked Matt about this earlier. Look, I know the most important thing is production, not entertainment value, but the guitar fake is really fun to watch, especially when it works so well. I know Aaron's talked about the history of it, whatever. What is it like for you to watch, and why do you think he's so good at it and it's so effective when it works the way it does?
I mean, that evolution of that fake, it stems back years ago. I remember, even looking at some of the tape that my dad used to have from the olden days when Alex Van Pelt was the quarterback at University of Pitt, watching just how choreographed all those fakes were. And I think that's something that is, created and it has been created and grown. And guys have just, the more that you coach that footwork, that artwork, that choreography of marrying it up to the run is why those things work. And I think that Aaron takes so much pride in all of his footwork, whether it's a play pass or whether it's a run game. He wants everything to look the exact same. So I think that when you're doing certain things like the guitar fake, you're always consistently doing it within the run game, and those guys have to fit in the run. Otherwise, the run's going to hit. So just those actions, that pride in those things are so important. And I mean, it's just evolved over time. I mean, looking at how it is, and Alex Van Pelt was unbelievable at it. He's coming in town this week, and he kind of started a lot of that coaching of it, and Mike McCarthy and Paul Hackett, all those guys. I mean, it's about the art of the footwork with the quarterback and believing in it and trusting it. And Aaron has taken it to new levels with his action.
Go ahead, Jason.
So I'm sorry, I don't have the timeline in front of me, but I don't know my Pitt football history quite as well as I want to. So did Alex do that under your dad?
I want to say the tape that I have was a lot of dramatic action from the backfield from the very beginning. I don't know if it was necessarily that exact play that he did. I know Alex started talking to me about it. I want to say, when I worked with him at the Bills, he started talking about it. So that's something that was always kind of in his repertoire. And but if you go back to like those early times, I mean, all that stuff in those West Coast days, the Joe Montana, all those guys, the things that they started doing in their different lead draw actions, showing the hand, all the show snap shrinks that we do, that was where a lot of that stuff started evolving. And then it's just grown so much more. So it's kind of just been created into something beautiful.
So it all goes back to your dad. Can we write that? We can give your dad.
I mean, I can't tell you exactly where it came from. I know that when I was a kid, I remember watching him and always, all those different actions and pushing, more action, more acting, be an actor, show the ball. Chad Pennington back in those days was unbelievable at it. So it's like you just kind of look at it all, and it's been a while for all that. So I don't know where everything exactly came from specifically, but I know that it does stem. It's not something that we have, like, nobody has done. I know that everybody's just kind of made it better and made it cleaner. And if you have a quarterback that owns it, like Aaron does, it's going to look great.
All right, we have time for two more. Aaron Nagler.
Coach, speaking of the evolution of offense, I asked Matt this, and I want to get your take. Where did this fascination league-wide with quads to one side of the field come from? Like, forever it was always trips, and now all of a sudden this year everybody's doing quads. Was there a meeting? Like, what happened?
It's something that's always kind of been sprinkled in, I think, at times. And, like anything in the NFL, when something starts working and we all want to look and try to find and evolve ourselves, when you see certain things working, you want to kind of put your little spin on it. And, when we first got here, we were doing some 4-strong things out of the backfield. And then now some of the empty stuff or truly 4x1 has been showing up. And it just kind of opens up the route tree when you start seeing different people try different things. And like I said, when those things work, I mean, you always want to take the things that work. So I think as long as you can put it within your system and it fits and you can have all that the good spacing, I think it's something that you just want to keep experimenting with. So it's definitely been a lot more. I mean, I remember seeing Detroit do it. I remember seeing the Ravens have done it a lot. There's a lot of teams that have done it. It's always kind of been sprinkled in the past, but it's definitely taken a life of its own.
And last one, Bill Huber.
I was going to mention Pennington with that play action stuff. He was like fantastic when I was a kid. But anyways,
he was the best. Some of the tape is unbelievable when he would totally hide the ball and put it on his hip and have his back turned to the entire defense. And I would always wonder what would happen if somebody didn't bite on the fake, but it would always work. It's just about how great of an actor you are and how you're setting it up with the runs. But he was unbelievable.
My question here is, though, so you don't have Tunyon, you don't have Randall, you don't have MVS anymore. Look, I realize it's December and it's kind of the way it goes, but how challenging is it for you guys to scheme up ways to get guys open when you're without so many of your proven guys?
Yeah, I think it's kind of what we always talk about. It's an exciting challenge. It gives an opportunity for different people to step up. I mean, we saw Tyler Davis last week. I mean, he's thrown in there, and he catches a huge ball down the middle. I give credit to so many of the coaches on our staff, all the different guys that have gotten guys ready within the system, and for the guys themselves to prepare themselves. And, I mean, every single opportunity you get, in this game is precious. And as long as the guys know that, then when their time comes, they're going to be able to execute. So we're always trying to get everybody open. We want everybody to have an opportunity to catch the ball. And it's, when that time comes, it's their chance. And, for this game, it's the same way. And that's how it is in the NFL right now. I mean, there's a lot of games that we're playing, and it's crunch time now, and everybody's beat up. And everybody's going to have an opportunity, and you have to coach everybody like a starter. And, it's just awesome to see right now. It's awesome to see, and there's going to be great opportunity, and it's going to get people experience because we need everybody on this team to be ready to rock and roll as we enter into the playoffs.